You're underestimating XLM, and that's exactly what the banks want. The silence is the signal. Why no one talks about XLM anymore. They want you distracted. While everyone's chasing the next meme coin pump or arguing about whether Ethereum Layer 2s will finally fix gas fees, something much bigger is quietly taking shape. Not in the hype cycles, not on the crypto influencer live streams, but deep inside the infrastructure layer of global finance. And it's called Stellar. Now think about this for a second. When was the last time you saw anyone on crypto Twitter mention XLM? When did a YouTuber thumbnail scream, "Stellar is going to the moon"? You don't see it on TikTok. It's not part of the XRP army drama. It's not even getting love from the usual altcoin shillers. And that's not an accident. That's by design. Because while retail is glued to meme coin charts and NFT rug pulls, institutions are moving in silence. And Stellar is not playing the hype game. It's not here to entertain you with dog tokens or airdrop lotteries. It's building something much more dangerous. Infrastructure the traditional financial system is beginning to depend on. It's not sexy, but it's powerful. The Stellar Development Foundation doesn't run Super Bowl ads. They're not partnering with Logan Paul. They're not minting celebrity NFTs. What they are doing is building scalable, permissionless financial tools that are actually being used by banks, credit unions, payment processors, and even governments. Let me say that again. While retail has been sleeping on Stellar, it's been quietly onboarding some of the largest financial operations on the planet. Let's look at the receipts. MoneyGram, yes, the $1 billion remittance giant, chose Stellar to build out their blockchain-based cash-in/cash-out global payment rails. The United Nations has used Stellar for humanitarian aid delivery, distributing digital assets to refugees in Ukraine and beyond. Visa and Circle? They're intertwined with projects connected to Stellar's stablecoin integrations and anchors. Central banks? Several are running actual pilots on Stellar for CBDCs and digital asset issuance. Palago Labs, backed by Franklin Templeton, is deploying trade finance on Soroban, Stellar's smart contract layer. Now here's what no one's saying out loud. Projects that are actually building the financial stack of the next decade don't need the spotlight. They operate in silence. Because they're not building for hype. They're building for integration into systems that will eventually serve billions of people, whether they know it or not. And that's why you're not hearing about Stellar on crypto influencer channels. Because influencers don't care about quiet adoption. They care about volatility, clicks, and dopamine spikes. And Stellar doesn't play that game. Ask yourself, why would a network that's been used by global banks, governments, and asset managers not be front-page crypto news? Simple. Because it's not built for you. It's built for scale. And when something is being positioned as an invisible layer underneath the entire financial system, the less noise it makes, the more seriously you should take it. Silence in crypto isn't a red flag. It's a green light for those who know how to read the signals. While everyone else was watching Dogecoin, Stellar was quietly setting up corridors across Latin America, Africa, Europe, and Southeast Asia, not just through partnerships, but by embedding itself into compliance-first remittance operations, regulated stablecoin flows, and interoperable finance frameworks. And Soroban, Stellar's smart contract layer, just went live with the most scalable WASM-based infrastructure in the entire crypto space. You won't see that in the top trending tokens, but it's going to be the foundation for tokenized assets, digital trade finance, and cross-border lending that actually works. The reality is, if you're just now starting to realize what Stellar is doing, you're still early. Because the public isn't supposed to notice until it's already integrated into their banking apps and digital wallets. Until JP Morgan and the IMF are building cross-border tooling on top of infrastructure that Stellar helped pioneer. This isn't a hype train. This is quiet accumulation. This is base layer plumbing for global finance. And once you understand that, the price action starts to make a lot more sense. Stellar doesn't move like a meme coin. It moves like infrastructure, quiet, slow, then exponential. So the next time someone says, XLM is dead, just smile. Because what looks like silence is really the sound of the world's financial engine being rewired. Subscribe to Be Crypto Smart, because no one else is unpacking the real stories behind utility-driven tokens like this. Let's get into it. Follow the money, the institutional trail behind Stellar. If you really want to know what's coming, don't listen to influencers. Don't watch crypto Twitter. Don't even obsess over the price chart. Follow the money, because that's what the institutions do. And when it comes to Stellar XLM, the paper trail is hiding in plain sight. You just have to know where to look. Let's break it down. Most retail investors only see crypto as green candles and Twitter drama. But the people who actually shape markets, the policymakers, the asset managers, the payment network architects, they're playing an entirely different game. And Stellar's been on their radar for years. Here's a reality check. Stellar isn't trying to win over the crypto crowd. It's trying to rebuild the core plumbing of the global financial system. Quietly, piece by piece, institution by institution. So while retail asks when moon, the smart money is asking something else entirely. Can this network handle billions in cross-border flows with compliance and finality? And for Stellar, the answer is yes. Let's talk real institutional weight. Money with Wings, Franklin Templeton, $1.5 trillion under management. They didn't just flirt with Stellar. They issued a tokenized U.S. government money market fund directly on the Stellar blockchain. This wasn't some testnet gimmick. This was a fully regulated, SEC-registered fund with daily settlements and on-chain transparency. And that was back in 2019. Meanwhile, MoneyGram, one of the largest remittance providers in the world, didn't pick Ethereum, Solana, or XRP for its blockchain rails. They chose Stellar. Why? Because Stellar could do something others couldn't. Offer real-time stablecoin settlement that plugged into cash pickup and deposit in over 300,000 global locations. You can literally convert USDC to physical fiat across borders using Stellar's rails. That's not a vision. That's live. And it's not just one-off integrations. Hammer and Wrench Stellar has built a full-stack architecture for interoperable finance. Anchored stablecoins in key emerging markets, compliant KYC layers, programmable smart contracts with Soroban, and APIs that make onboarding seamless for fintechs and financial institutions alike. And now enter Palago Labs. This is where things get really interesting. Palago Labs is building trade finance infrastructure on Stellar. Think real-world DeFi for businesses, powered by Soroban smart contracts. But instead of DeFi Degans aping into memecoins, we're talking about enterprises financing invoices, export contracts, and supply chains across borders. And who backed Palago? Franklin Templeton. Let that sink in. A trillion-dollar asset manager is backing a company building enterprise-grade DeFi on Stellar. Not Ethereum. Not Avalanche. Not Solana. Stellar. Why? Because Stellar's architecture was designed from day one to handle fiat on off-ramps, compliance layers, and stable value asset transfer, not speculative volatility. This isn't just speculation. This is real-world adoption. And the more you trace the partnerships, from SDF's collaborations with Visa and Circle to its participation in global CBDC discussions, the more you realize Stellar is positioning itself as a neutral settlement layer for regulated finance. And guess what? That's exactly what the banks want. They don't want flashy chains with governance wars and DeFi hacks. They want trust-minimized, compliant, fast, final settlement networks that won't rug them in 6 months. And Stellar checks every one of those boxes. So again, if you're wondering why XLM isn't being shilled by every influencer under the sun, it's because the people who are actually integrating it are playing chess, not checkers. They're not trying to front-run hype. They're securing the foundation of tomorrow's financial rails before the world even realizes what's happening. Follow the MoneyGram deal. Follow Franklin Templeton. Follow the USDC integration. Follow Palago. Follow the enterprise corridors in Africa and Latin America. Follow the code commits, the developer traction, and the lack of drama. That's where the real story is. And the best part? Retail's still asleep. You already know, if this is resonating, hit that subscribe button on Be Crypto Smart because you're not getting this kind of signal anywhere else. Let's keep going. Why the smart contract game just changed Soroban versus Ethereum. For years, Ethereum has owned the smart contract narrative. It was the birthplace of DeFi, the home of NFTs, the king of programmable money. But here's the problem Ethereum never solved: real-world usability for real businesses. Not yield farming. Not cartoon JPEGs. but actual enterprise-grade applications that demand speed, compliance, and certainty. Enter Soroban. And if you're not paying attention to what Soroban is doing on Stellar right now, you're missing one of the most important shifts happening in crypto. Let's be real. Most smart contract platforms are optimized for speculation. They're built to support DEXs, lending loops, liquidity incentives, and Ponzonomics. But guess what? Institutions don't care about that. Banks, remittance firms, fintechs, they care about infrastructure. They care about whether a platform can be audited, whether it can scale without $50 gas fees, and whether it meets regulatory standards. They need predictable execution, real-time finality, and security guarantees that don't break under load. That's where Soroban flips the table. Because unlike Ethereum and most of its copy-paste clones, Soroban was purpose-built to bring smart contracts to the world of regulated finance. Think Stellar's core strengths: fast, low-cost, interoperable asset transfers, but now programmable at scale. Here's why that matters. Soroban is WASM-based, WebAssembly, meaning it's faster, safer, and more predictable than it supports native metering for gas that doesn't spike based on memecoin mania. It's been built with auditability and modularity in mind, so smart contracts can be composable and compliant. And it plugs directly into the Stellar network, giving developers instant access to global stablecoins, fiat ramps, and regulated partners. That last part? That's the killer feature. Because unlike Ethereum or Solana, Soroban isn't starting from zero. It's launching inside a network that already has Circle's USDC fully integrated, direct MoneyGram access for on/off-ramping to 180+ countries, dozens of fiat stablecoins tied to real financial institutions, a production-grade decentralized exchange, Stellar DEX, with years of uptime, compliance tools like KYC anchors and regulated endpoints baked in. You're not building in a vacuum. You're building in a live, interoperable financial ecosystem. And that's exactly what Palago Labs is doing. With Soroban, they're issuing trade finance instruments on-chain, invoices, payments, guarantees that integrate directly with Stellar's rails and plug into the global stablecoin infrastructure. Ethereum can't do that without bridges, oracles, and gas subsidies. Stellar and Soroban? It's all native. And the kicker? Because Soroban is just now rolling out, developers are getting in early, before the inevitable flood of institutional use cases and DeFi for business primitives go live. It's like 2017 Ethereum, but this time the focus isn't on memes and ICOs. It's on real-world enterprise adoption. So while everyone else is distracted by the next Solana-based dog token, Soroban is quietly building a smart contract ecosystem designed for banks, fintechs, and governments, not traders with diamond hands. This isn't just a new chain. It's a compliance-ready, performance-optimized smart contract layer that speaks the language of regulated finance. And no one's talking about it. Yet, price suppression by design, quiet accumulation, and the XLM supply game. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. If XLM is so powerful, so connected, so deeply integrated, why hasn't the price moved? Short answer? Because Stellar isn't designed for hype. It's designed for adoption first, price later. While crypto chases the next meme pump or NFT trend, Stellar's over here moving real money, USDC, fiat ramps, cross-border remittances, and humanitarian aid. The on-chain metrics are healthy. Millions of accounts, real anchors, real volume. But the price? Quiet. Because that's intentional. XLM has a fixed supply, 50 billion. No inflation. But a large chunk is still held by the Stellar Development Foundation. And they're not dumping it. They're dispersing it strategically, through grants, liquidity programs, and partner integrations. It slows short-term speculation. It stabilizes the ecosystem. Why? Because institutions don't want volatility. They want predictable rails they can build on. That's why Stellar's growth looks boring on the surface. But if you zoom in on the data, you'll see quiet whale accumulation. Big wallets are growing. Exchange flows are net positive. Long-term holders are increasing while smaller retail traders come and go. This is classic infrastructure behavior. Think Amazon in the 90s. Flat price, no hype, quiet logistics build-out. Then boom. Global dominance. Stellar's doing the same. Laying the groundwork for CBDCs, remittances, stablecoin rails, and enterprise DeFi in silence. Because the price won't move until the utility is too big to ignore. And when that day comes, it won't move slowly. It'll snap. Fast. Violently. Without warning. Just like every other asset that got underestimated. Until it didn't. The final flip. When banks don't need your permission to use XLM. This is the part most people aren't prepared for. There's going to come a point where Stellar's infrastructure is so embedded in the global financial system, you won't even realize you're using it. No headlines, no hype, no app labeled blockchain. Just your money moving faster, cheaper, and more efficiently, powered silently by the Stellar network. That's the final phase. CBDCs transacting on Stellar rails. Remittances moving in USDC through MoneyGram corridors. Payroll executed over Stellar Anchor integrations. Business software running automated transactions through Soroban smart contracts in the background. All of it using XLM at the protocol layer without anyone needing to buy, trade, or even know about the token. Because that's the goal. Infrastructure you don't see but depend on. And this is what makes the present moment so important. Right now, Stellar is one of the only crypto protocols that meets the requirements of live, compliant, cross-border financial systems. It's not vaporware. It's not hypothetical. It's functioning today in real-world environments across multiple continents. And yet most retail investors have written it off. That's not a flaw. That's design. Because if the public understood what was actually being built, if they saw the level of institutional onboarding, the regulatory alignment, and the silent adoption curve, they'd never sell. They'd accumulate. They'd position ahead of the curve. They'd do exactly what institutions don't want them to do. Front-run the next global financial reset before it becomes obvious. And that's why the silence continues. Because once that final flip happens, once the infrastructure is locked in and the banks no longer need retail speculation, there's no turning back. The price won't climb slowly. It won't give second chances. It will reprice violently, driven by the weight of real global utility. By then, retail won't matter. Exchanges won't matter. Public opinion won't matter. Because it will already be live, already scaled, already essential. And most people will have missed it because they didn't look when it was quiet. Stay sharp. Stay ahead. Because once the lights come on, the opportunity disappears. If you're underestimating Stellar, you're far from alone. Most people are making the same mistake, dismissing it as outdated, irrelevant, or dead. And that's exactly how the banks and institutions want it. They want the silence. They want the ignorance. Because it gives them the advantage to build quietly, to integrate deeply, and to prepare for a financial system reset that few retail investors see coming. But if you've watched this closely, if you've listened beyond the noise and the hype cycles, then you're already ahead of the curve. You're not chasing pumps. You're not distracted by influencers or short-term volatility. You're focused on something far bigger, real infrastructure, genuine adoption, and the potential for exponential upside that only comes when utility reaches critical mass. Because make no mistake, the rebuilding of the global financial system is underway. And it's happening quietly, on Stellar's rails. When that moment arrives, there won't be a dramatic announcement. There won't be a signal flashing on your screen. There will only be a sudden, undeniable revaluation. An event that rewrites how money moves, instantly, globally, and permissionlessly. And by then, it will be too late to get in early. That's why staying informed, staying alert, and staying ahead is critical right now. This is your opportunity to understand the story no one else is telling. Subscribe to Be Crypto Smart, because here you learn what the banks and institutions don't want you to know. And that knowledge is your edge.